So anyway, good morning. My name is Steve Nudelberg, as she said. I'm excited to be here. What a great, good-looking group of people. The reason why I wrote my book is that I've been in sales my entire life. I've been fortunate to be successful doing it, and the rules of the game have changed. It's not the same as it used to be. I get to travel around the country working with every single category you can imagine, and what's interesting is no matter what the product or service is, everybody is facing the same problems. Anybody want to tell me what the #1 change is? The internet of things. It has totally changed the playing field. So younger people who have a grasp of the digital environment, right, have an advantage on some things. They know how to use this little toy called the iPhone, but they don't have the experience or the work ethic that some of the other people do. People have been doing it a long time. So what became fascinating to me was, I don't know how to use this. There we go. So I'll tell you a little bit about me, about why somebody would actually ask me to speak. It's kind of neat. A couple years ago, as Cindy said, the CEO and the vice president for Bank United called me up, and that guy's name is Jerry Latrento, anybody who knows him. And he said to me, he goes, "You are probably the best salesperson I've ever been around, right? I love your work ethic. I love everything you do." He goes, "I want to get you in front of my people." And I said, "Well, I don't really do that. I run businesses and do other things." So he said, "Well, we'll figure it out." And he put me in front of 100 salespeople, and within 90 days, their increase in sales was so dramatic that I've been working with them for 3 years. So anybody been to a sales training event before? Okay, I am not a sales trainer. I am a sales doer. I actually do everything that I'm going to talk to you about today. So I only ask one thing. I'm going to give you a bunch of information, right? I don't know it all. I know it works for me. Hopefully, one thing resonates with you today, just one thing. And the thing I ask is that you take that one thing, you put it into practice for 30 days. Pretty simple. Anybody can do anything for 30 days. And if you do, and you get results, do another one and another one and another one. And I promise you it's not only about sales, it's about lifestyle. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I'm an obsessed father and grandfather. I have 2 great sons. Both of them are in college football. Any football fans in here? So my sons are disciples of my thinking and how I operate. I am the principal thinker of my company On the Ball. We were based in Broward County for 22 years. Prior to that, I was in the cell phone business. And for those guys who have been around in the market for a while, it was a company called ABC Cellular. I don't know if anybody remembers it. We were the biggest in the marketplace for many years. I sold my part of that when I was 34. I'm a serial salesman. I know how to sell stuff. I know how to message stuff. It's what I was born to do. I now keynote speak, which is really fun. I actually connect with a lot of the people when I'm on the road. I stay in touch with them, and it's all about, you know, this transfer of information. I train salespeople. And I'm a social selling expert. So a lot of people call me up and they go, well, what does that really mean? So social selling, which is this new phenomenon, really is so cool because it has nothing to do with selling. It's all about, and I want you to kind of remember now, go back and say, if you needed to have your tires changed, how would you get that done? You'd usually ask your neighbor or ask a friend, and that word of mouth was the only way that people found a doctor, a dentist, a butcher, anything, any service that they wanted. Well, social media is word of mouth on complete steroids. So I figured out how to do it. I put the rules together, put it in a book. I'll share with you. There are 27 rules for leaders and influencers. That means if you, your significant other, your kids, your relatives, anybody you know, this should be applicable to. There are rules in here on how to operate your life. And if you're a good person, I think you'll probably be a better salesperson. So talk about change. My company has been On the Ball Marketing for 25 years. We're now, July 1st, changing to On the Ball Ventures, which really more reflects the work that my company does every day. We get involved with early stage companies. We help bring them to market, and we take a piece of them. So we actually own a bunch of different businesses in a bunch of different categories, which speaks to the credibility that this is not BS. It's real, and everybody in my world lives and breathes like this. So as I said, we're experts in business development and social selling. Just a snapshot of the companies that we have influenced their sales program. So selling is really important. I love when I walk into companies and they go, well, I don't really sell. And I believe that that's a bunch of crock because everybody's selling. So ultimately, whatever is happening, it's happening in your head, good or bad. There's a friend of mine in this market that just retired. Guy's name is Bill Farback. I don't know if anybody knows. He was the president of Publix. He was with Publix for 40 years, started at Publix as a bag boy. He retired a millionaire. How many people along the way you think told him that he could never be president of that company? So most people are set against you. These are rules that will help you. It's a toolbox that should help you deal with all the frustrations. Now, I know you deal with the 1% of the economy. Your challenges are different than everybody, but the reality is there's going to be a lot of similarities. So if it's all in your head, you need tools that can help you overcome them. That's what these are. I want you to do me a favor. We're going to watch a short video. We're going to spend a little time going over the rules. When you watch this video, I want you to think of the words that resonate with you and what you take away.
Rise and shine. 6 a.m. your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in your belly, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you chose to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back, because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams span out like a river delta before you, each one promising a path of least resistance. The thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, and you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable, safe, and what some call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash your way. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're underway now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent you can't see the body you feel on your heels, can't you? Feel them breathing down your neck. You know what that is? That's you. Your fears, your doubts, and insecurities all lined up like a firing squad, ready to shoot you out of the sky. But don't lose heart. While they're not easily defeated, they are far from invincible. Remember, this is a grind. A battle royale between you and your mind, your body, and the devil on your shoulder is telling you that this is just a game. This is just a waste of time. Your opponents are stronger than you. Drown out the voice of uncertainty with the sound of your own heartbeat. Burn away yourself down to the fire beneath you. Remember what we're fighting for, and never forget that momentum's a cruel mistress. She can turn on a dime with the smallest mistake. She is ever searching for a weak place in your armor, that one tiny thing that you forgot to prepare for. So as long as the devil is hiding the details, the question remains, is that all you got? Are you sure? When the answer is yes, when you've done all you can to prepare yourself for battle, then it's time to go forth and boldly face your enemy, the enemy within. Only now you must take that fight into the open, into hostile territory. You're a lion in a field of lions, all hunting the same elusive prey with a desperate starvation that says victory is the only thing that can keep you alive. So believe that voice that says you can run a little faster, and you can throw a little harder, that for you, the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Luck is the last time which of those who believe that winning can happen by accident. Sweat, on the other hand, is for those who know it's a choice. So decide now, because destiny waits for you here. And when your time comes and 1,000 different voices are trying to tell you you're not ready for it, listen instead to that one voice that says, the one that says you are ready, you are prepared. It's all up to you now. So rise and shine.
Pretty cool, right? So, interestingly enough, that was made by Nike, obviously, and it's the analogies to what we do every day to sports are pretty relevant. But if you go to Google and Google that and just print the words are unbelievably relevant to how salespeople live their lives. It's really cool. It's just a cool exercise to do. So for a second, I want you to imagine what it was like being a salesperson 20 years ago. And there's probably some people in here that have been doing it for more than 20 years. There was no internet, which is, I can't fathom that. There was no Google, which means you couldn't answer any question. There's no CRM, right, or any other alphabet soup. There was none of that. There was no email, which is actually kind of migrating away from people using email. No mobile phone, which is sort of insane. Can you imagine having to take quarters or dimes or whatever it was and stop on the road? So it's interesting because I think it's the best time to be a salesperson. The tools that are available to us are unbelievable. How many in the room use an app called Waze? I can't leave my house without, plugging it into Waze. It's unbelievable. I travel a lot. I usually speak once a week in a different city, and it's mind-blowing that it could take me down different streets every time and get me there exactly when it says, tell me when the police are going to be there. So the tools are incredible. So what I like to do is look at successful people, which I've done my whole career, right? And I look at what is it about them that's the most successful. So my rules are a compilation of things I thought and things I watched from other successful people. So there are 3 undeniable things about successful people. Number 1 is they're willing to make the sacrifice. And I can tell you from traveling around the country, that's not true of most people in general. They're just not willing to sacrifice. They want stuff. Think about at the end of the year or the beginning of the year when people want to go on a diet. Everybody wants to lose weight. Not everybody's willing to do what it takes to do that. So sort of a mindset game there. They have incredible work ethic. I know from my entire career, no one will ever outwork me, period. I will be there. I'll be the first guy there, the last guy home. And then you play 3 separate roles. You play a student, and I learn something every single day. I have these things called aha moments. Every single day, I write them down and I cherish them because I'm learning from everybody around me. Number 2 is I'm a teacher. That's why I wrote my book. I love the fact that I can share my stuff and people share that back with me. And number 3 is they're motivators. So for all of you, as you wake up and go about your business every day, see what roles you're playing, see where that fits. Comes down to one simple thing. It's sort of how bad do you want it? It's that simple. The people that I've watched and been around that are so successful, and I'm around some incredible entrepreneurs all the time, they really, really want it more than anything else. I'm in business with Damon John. I don't know if anybody knows who Damon John is. Damon John is one of the guys on the Shark Tank. If you get to hear his story, he mortgaged everything he had to bet on himself in the fashion business. He wound up going up and down the streets of New York in Queens and telling people, hey, listen, I will paint your gates at night if you allow me to put my message up there. And overnight, FUBU was all over New York and obviously a successful company. So it's just how bad you want it. So I'm going to put up 4 logos. I don't know how many sports fans there are in the room, but tell me what each of those logos have in common. Okay, that's good, for sure. Correct. Anybody else? Okay, so they all won, but that's the easy part. The one thing that ties them all together is that each of those teams was behind at the end of each of those games or series. So you look at the Patriots, obviously they were way behind. They didn't go in the locker room and go, oh my God, what are we going to do? They knew what to do. They just did more of it, right? And Atlanta didn't. It was that simple. The Cubs were down 3-1. Right? They came back and won it because that was in their mind that losing was not an option. Cavaliers down 3-1. I got to update this because that's not accurate. And then Clemson was losing up until the last play of the game. You know, and I say losing, and I should take that back. They were never losing. They were behind. They never believed that they could lose. So what it comes down to pretty simply is this. They all had a process, right? So all I'm going to talk to you today is about a process. Great teams, great athletes, great salespeople, great business people all have a process. So this is my process, rules of engagement. Number 1 rule, successful people get up early. So here's the cool thing about early. Early's pretty nebulous. Some people, early is 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Anybody in the room get up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Anybody get up earlier than 5? Wow, interesting. Okay, anybody want to take a guess what time I get up? I'm up at 3:30 every day. Okay, not because I want to, but the successful people that I was engaged with would tell me, listen, if early is 6 or 5 o'clock to somebody and I get up at 4 or earlier, I will outwork them 1 hour every day. And you know what? If you times that by 7 days, times a month, times a year, you have so much more time to accomplish what you do. So I'm not the best looking and I'm not the smartest, but I am always first. First email, first inbox, always. So number one, wake up early. Number two, one of my favorites.
Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillows centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of the simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will turn into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made. That you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
So obviously it feels pretty simple, but the highest trained human beings on the planet get engaged in the first thing in the morning by making their bed. I found that fascinating. I read about it, and certainly it does make a difference. So make your bed. Number three, anybody hear of this term, in the zone? Okay, so everybody has a different sort of idea of what in the zone is. For the term was coined by Michael Jordan. Playoffs many, many years ago against Portland. He's going out of his mind, shooting everything in the basket. They interview him afterwards, and he goes, I don't know what was going on. I was in the zone. So it's sort of like instinct. It just takes over. For most people, when they feel like they're in the zone, they make every green light in the morning. They go to Starbucks and there's no line. And they walk in the office and they get the call that they've been waiting for. Anybody know that feeling? Pretty simple. So there was this guy. Anybody know who that is? So this is great, because I speak all over the country, as I said. There are some audiences that don't know who that is, which is a complete mind blower. You know? So this guy could just pop spinach, and he was great. Being in the zone, as Michael Jordan described it, if you put that to numbers, and this is a great takeaway, if you put that to numbers, so being in the zone could be a 10, he said it's physically impossible to be a 10 all the time. You'd burn out. So what great people do is figure out when they wake up in the morning, they self-assess. And they go, you know what? I ate bad, I didn't sleep good, I got a lot on my mind, I woke up and I'm a 5. What greatness is figuring out how to get from a 5 to a 10 every single minute of every day. And if you can do that, and I want you to think about it, is it fair that anybody in your life that you love should see you at a 5? If you have kids or, significant others, should you ever be a 5 to them? Should you ever be a 5 to a prospect? Should you ever be a 5 to anybody in your life? When I travel, people go, man, you're unbelievable. I've never seen you down. I've never seen you with a lack of energy, and you never will. That's what the training is. What happens if I showed up today and I was a 5? Oh, you know what? I'm here. Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. And, you want me to be a 10. And if you learn to do that, it's a special skill, but you will never look back because performance and greatness is all about that. So rule number 4 is 20 minutes exercise. Pretty simple. Orange Theory is the #1 franchise in the country right now. There's like 700 of them. There's CrossFit. There's boxing, which I just took on, which is a really cool sport. You get hit, you only have 10 seconds to get up. Whoa. All you need is 20 minutes. It's a machine. If you get up and you walk for 20 minutes every day, it will change your life, period. It will absolutely get the blood flowing and get the engine going. Number 5 is you got to drink something green. Now, does anybody really think that's what I'm talking about? Although that would be pretty cool. Number 5 is you got to drink something green. Everybody know what a NutriBullet is? Right? It's the #1 appliance in America right now. It's $79 and allows you to take all of this stuff, throw it in a blender, drink it, walk out the door, and feel like $1 million. I had lunch last week with Cindy and Jeff, and they were like, what are you going to order? And I go, I don't order. I drink my lunch. And I drank my juice that day. It's a commitment to want to feel good. Pay attention to the foods that you eat. In sales, you know, people are really, really interested in like Taco Tuesday and like all of these like, oh, it's happy hour, it's all this stuff. If you pay attention to what you eat and how it makes you feel, it changes your life.
What I want to do is I want to focus on the emotions that will cause me to be the better me. And the 2 emotions that most people are messed up by are anger and fear. And when you're grateful, you can't be angry. Try to be grateful and angry is the same thing, so it never works. And you can't be fearful when you're grateful. So when I look at people, almost always they're reacting out of fear or they're reacting out of anger, some version of those 2. So gratitude to me is the antidote. So I spend 3 minutes, just 3 minutes, and I think of 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 people, 3 situations that I stepped into it.
So big Tony Robbins fan. One of my best friends was his VP of sales for years. I've met him. This is truly an amazing, amazing human being. One of the greatest things about what I'm doing now is I get to actually be around him and share his knowledge, but success leaves clues. Pay attention to people who are great and people who are teaching it. So obviously being grateful is key. You got to read and write. Nobody reads anymore. Nobody writes anymore. Reading, great successful people leave books. I don't know how they let me in that club, but they did. Rule number 8 is the more you learn, the more you earn. So that fills that same thing. Okay, so listening to that song, everybody know that song? It's physically impossible not to be happy and to be moving around, right? You would be dead if you didn't move to that song. Impossible. So what it teaches you, which people forget as they grow older, they forget this. Listen to music. It's the #1 game changer. All of you have a favorite song that reminds you of something great in your life, right? That's how you overcome all the bullshit that we deal with every day. And we deal with tons of it. No matter what you do, life is not easy. Music makes it better. It's pretty simple. So before I do anything, I have certain music that I put on. That one's a doozy. But pick your song, put it on in the morning, and watch what happens. You'll be singing it all day long. So it's there to do, and it's easy. Love this one. When you leave here today, when you pull up to the first red light, and I'm assuming you all drove here or came in a car, pull up to the first red light, I want you to look to the left and look to the right and tell me if anybody's smiling. Guaranteed they're not. They could be doing a lot worse, but they are not smiling. Nobody smiles anymore. And I will tell you, the key to being great in sales is transferring emotion. If I smile at you, what happens? You smile back. It's pretty simple. It's contagious, right? So especially people who are on the phone, right? We suggest you work in front of a mirror because the things that you would do on the phone right? When you know you're not face-to-face with somebody, you would never do face-to-face. So all of this multitasking and stuff like that, I spend a lot of time on the phone now. I've actually migrated to using Skype and Zoom because I want that face-to-face interaction, and I am smiling away. My house could be on fire. You would never know it because I'm smiling. So you got to make it a habit to smile. And this is a tough one for people because it's hard to smile all the time. Number 11. Pick 3 wins for the day. So one of the things you learn about life and in sales is that you could want these monumental changes, right? But success and greatness comes in small little steps. So we created this, and this is prevalent in college football because of my boys. Every single day as a human being, just for you, pick 3 things that you know you're gonna win at. I don't care what they are. That could be calling your mom or your dad. That could be writing a thank you note. But whatever you do 3 of them and do it every day. If you do it every day for 30 days, that's 90 wins in a month, right? Winning is psychology. It becomes muscle memory. I like winning. It becomes contagious. I expect to win. So if you do that on a regular basis, that's how you do it. It's pretty simple. Little tricks. Number 12, now in our office, so number 12 is this. Luck is for those that are unprepared. If you, in our office or in our world, which we now have 6 offices around the country, if you wish somebody good luck walking out the door, it costs you $25 to charity. Because there's so much available to us that luck has nothing to do with it. It's not a game of chance, right? All of the tools that are in front of us allow us to be really successful. And I know later on today there'll be some talk about social media. I'll talk about it a little bit. The world is transparent. You can find out anything about anybody, right? So to not be informed, right, is criminal. That's why we raise money for charity with that. Okay, do me a favor. I want you to all close your eyes. I promise you we will not be reaching in your bags and your pockets and stuff. So just close your eyes for a second. And I want you to think back to the first day that you started whatever your career is. Whatever you do for a living, think about what you did. Now, if you can own that feeling, go to the night before. The night before, you probably laid out your clothes, you probably mapped out the way in which you were gonna go, and just like when you hire interns now, you would have done anything to be successful. Now open your eyes. Fast forward to where you are in your career, you absolutely do not bring what you brought the first day. It's impossible. Oh, we don't do it that way. That's all of that mentality. If you operate like it's your first day, you will do things that you would have never done before. Pretty simple. That's not rocket science. That's just owning what happens to habits. Oh, I know a shortcut. That's, you know, we used to do it that way. Well, I ask people, I go, was it successful? They go, yeah. I go, then why the hell did you stop doing it? So there's lots of this stuff that people just get tired and just bored doing it. Number 14. So does anybody know how many seconds there are in a day? Nobody. Wow. Okay. There are 86,400 seconds in every day. There's not 1 second more and not 1 second less. So the next time you or anybody you know says, I don't have time, right? They're lying, because they do have time. We all have the same time. All it is you've made a choice to do something you think is more important. So like me getting up early, or what time I get up, is a choice. All of this is a choice to be great, and own it that you don't want to do that. That's okay. But never say it's not, you don't have the time, because we all have time, right? So I use this trick with people. If I gave you 7 hours a week, what would you do with those 7 hours? Anybody? Read. Great. Okay. Anybody else? That's a great one. Anybody else? Go to the gym. I hear that all the time. Anybody else? Oh, I love that one. So you're telling me that right now you don't spend that time with your kids. I can't imagine anything worse, because that's what this is all about, is to grow the next generation. So think about your routine. Get up in the morning, write it down, what you do all day, and you will find lost time. So it's all about time. Love this one. Let's agree, for the sake of this dialogue, that everybody works from 8 to 5. So people can challenge me on that, but everybody works from 8 to 5. Think about this one. Winners work from 5 to 8. So a lot of the organizations we deal with, they go, oh, I'm sorry, after 5 o'clock, that's my time, that's private time. I said, listen, they are looking for a French fry guy at McDonald's if you want that, to punch the clock. This is about using the clock in an efficient way. Okay, so anybody ever hear of Thank God It's Friday? So in most businesses and in most mindset, that's just a reason to quit on Friday at noon. Oh, I'm thinking about happy hour and where I'm going to go. And so productivity goes down significantly on Friday afternoons. We created something internally that sort of spread like a movement. So instead of TGIF, it's TGIS. That means the grind includes Saturday and Sunday. Right? These are days that as entrepreneurs and business people, we can no longer afford to take our hands off the wheel. Imagine that your business is a car, right? Would you not have your hands on the wheel on the weekend? It's the same thing. You can't leave Friday at 5 o'clock and expect to show up Monday morning and everything be okay. We don't live in that world anymore. So part of this is just adjusting to the mindset. So this will be the biggest topic for you to own and understand. There's this bazooka called social media, right? There's lots of channels, right, for people to understand what it is. Everybody watch TV at some point in their life? Okay, right? So whatever you chose to watch, that was programmed so that you would be entertained. Somebody made a decision that I'm going to put this on my channel and I want you to look at it. All social media are broadcast channels. They are put there for you to tell your story. Most of the feedback I get is, why would anybody care what I do? You know what? I'm not really sure, but they do. They do. Why is it that everywhere I travel to, I post that I'm there, and all of a sudden, I put up a bazooka that says, hey, I'm here, right? And people, oh my God, you're in Chicago, we should meet, we should talk. So using those channels effectively is critical to business success. Anybody on LinkedIn? How many people know how to use it? Statistically the same every single where I go. There'd be no way for me to go through how to use it here, but I promise you, if you spend the time learning it, it's the #1 business tool. Microsoft just spent $26 billion to buy it. Hello, something's going on there. They didn't buy it just to do it. They will be the biggest search engine on the planet, next to Facebook, which people in our age bracket usually say, oh, I don't use Facebook, it's for my kids. Really? 4 billion people are on Facebook. There's more business transacted on Facebook than anywhere else. So that's a fallacy. Getting in and understanding how to use your own TV station is really, really key. And by the way, what is the financial cost to it? 0. Wow, doesn't get much more efficient than that. So you got to get social.
Oh, have I got your attention now? Good. But we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is devastating. Third prize is your prize.
Anybody remember that movie? Dark, man. Really, really dark. But it brings up a point. One of the things that came out of that movie was ABC. What does it stand for? Always be closing. I talk on these panels now, and there's still guys getting paid next to me that have 101 ways to close. Complete ridiculousness. Does not exist anymore. So the reality is you're either selling or you're being sold. Any of you who have kids would absolutely know this. When you tell them to go to bed, they're selling you and you're selling them. Anybody try and get in a restaurant recently, right? And they say, sorry, we're all full? Never. There's never a restaurant that's all full. You've been sold. So think about that interaction. So we moved ABC to always be connecting. The big paradigm in this economy is the amount of connections. The ones with the most friends win, period. Because everybody is connected 1 degree away from somebody who can make a decision. You just never know. And if you get into the mechanics of LinkedIn, it's mind-boggling who you could be sitting next to somebody who their relative could be the next biggest deal you do, and you would never know to ask them, and they would never know to tell. So rule 19, you can tell I'm a sports guy. This was a couple years ago. Malcolm Butler made an interception in the end zone. They beat the Seahawks. A lot of controversy about the play, but the reality about the call. But the reality was, when Malcolm Butler intercepted the pass, they interviewed him in the locker room afterwards, and they go, wow, how'd you do that? He goes, you know what? I never even had to think. We practiced that 4 million times so that when they were in that formation, instinct came over, right? So what I take away is salespeople don't practice. Right? This is the only profession that you can be in at 20 years and still be doing what you did before, and you don't practice new stuff. Every single one of you knows something that you can share with somebody else. That's how the profession rises. Now, you've done a great job of being here to be educated, but I'm talking about on a daily basis. Learn, practice, best practices. Every single one of you have had a challenge that something didn't work and you can share it with somebody else. So practice makes perfect. I love this one. So networking is only one letter away from not working. So in the economy we live in, right, most people think networking is an event. Oh, I have an event tonight at 5, right? I'm gonna wear my fancy clothes. I'm gonna go there with my business cards. I'm gonna have 2 drinks, some crummy hors d'oeuvres. I'm gonna meet a couple of people that I really don't wanna know, and then I'm gonna get in my car and I'm gonna go home. I will tell you that networking is not an event, it's a lifestyle. For me, some of the biggest deals I've ever done is when I got stuck in an airport. We're all just hanging around BSing and good stuff happens. It happens at the dry cleaner, it happens in the church and in the temple, right? I took my son played high school football, he was the quarterback for Cypress Bay. So I took him, I asked the coach near the end of his senior year, I said, hey Coach G, I want to take you out for a cup of coffee. And it was like dead silence on the side. And I go, you know I'm not one of those dads that gets involved. It's not about Jake. You've had an influence in his life. I just want to, I don't know when I'll see you again. I want to have coffee with you. We go, we have coffee. I ask him one question. Tell me your story. Everybody has a story. He tells me his story. At the end, he asks me, what's your story? Tell him what my story is. A month later, I get a call from a guy. He goes, Steve, you don't know me, but our sons play football on the team together. I had a conversation with Coach G, and I have a sales issue, and Coach G thinks you're the one who can handle it. Turned out to be one of our best training clients. I would have never been anywhere near that, but all I did was tell my story. So networking happens all the time. Okay, who sings it? Okay, what's her name? What's the name of the band? Rufus. Who said that? Good job, man, excellent. Okay, so most people are programmed that when they meet somebody for the first time or they run into them, they say, hey, how you doing? Beth, how you doing? Right? That is an excuse for her to take her monkey and put it on my back. Oh, this is so bad. I'm my boss, my wife, my husband, all of this stuff. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm sorry I asked. So in sales, you've taken the dynamic of something that could be positive and you got to deal with all of their negative, right? That's the worst case scenario. So I say, change the dialogue. This is the #1 takeaway voted by all the Vistage groups I speak to, all the CEOs that I speak to. Change the dialogue to, tell me something good. So, hey Beth, it's great to see you. Tell me something good. And what will happen is they'll get stunned. Whoa, good. Think about it, and as soon as whatever they say, that is the one key thing that you need to focus on forever. So I'll give you an example. So when my training with Bank United, I walk up to this girl, Darlene. Hey Darlene, great to see you. Tell me something good. She says, my son just finished his 2nd year at MIT. She is beaming, right? I said one more thing to her. Tell me more. She's talking for the next 15 minutes about her son. She's on another planet. When she finally comes down, she goes, why don't you tell me something good? Perfect opportunity for me to share everything about me and what's going on in my life in a positive emotional state. It is a game changer if you can train yourself to do that. I've trained young people to do this, right? And I love the feedback I get. How am I doing time-wise? Okay, getting close. So in sales, how am I doing time-wise? Okay, cool. I know that only thing that separates me and lunch is my conversation. It's never a good thing. Got to feed them. So In sales, like in life, it's all about the words. What your vocabulary is will dictate your success. So I'm going to give you some examples, and then I'm going to give you the 3 best words in sales, guaranteed. So anybody know who that guy is? So when he was in this market, I represented him. The early stage of our company, we were in sports marketing, and he was my client. And he would talk about winning all the time. And then the next thing out of his mouth didn't seem to make sense to me. So I called him aside one day, and I go, Coach, I'm lost. What's the deal with win? You know, he goes, most people think it's about the scoreboard, and it's not. Teams that watch the scoreboard lose. So I said, okay, then what is it? Anybody want to take a guess? What's important now? Period. Most people are stuck in what happened before, especially salespeople. They're still talking about a deal they lost 3 years ago. Oh, it was in the bag, I thought I had it, whatever. And they're scared or worried about what's going to happen in the future. The only thing you can handle, and just recently we had a dialogue about it when they lost to Ole Miss a couple years ago and everybody wrote them off. And he told the team in the locker room, because I know a lot of the coaches there, he said, listen, win, worry, what's important now? That's where we're going to spend our time. So there are 3 best words in sales, and this is a guarantee that it will change the way people perceive you. For whatever reason, our profession, the sales profession, is gauged by amount of appointments. Now maybe not so much with you guys because you're at that top 1%, but the word appointment to me is about going to the doctor or the dentist. Anybody really want to do that? I don't think so. So if you remove the word appointment and change it to visit, you watch how fast that changes. So, hey, Michelle, when can you and I visit? Doors fly open. What happens at a visit? Do you bring brochures, do you talk business, or do you just kind of get to know somebody? So, visit. Number 2, figure out if you're a fit. In sales, the faster you decide who is not a fit, and in your case, there's probably more that are not a fit than would be a fit, but it changes the paradigm where now I control the dance. Because I'll decide if you're a fit, not you as the end user. And that's big. Fred Astaire led when he danced. You lead the dance by saying, listen, I don't know if you're for me, but let's figure out if we're a fit. And that works up and down the ladder. Every product, every service, doesn't matter, premium or it does not matter. If you, as a professional, say, I need to visit and figure out if we're a fit, you've already changed the game. Because most people are going, please buy from me, please. I don't want you to buy, this could be so big. And then number 3 is, it's all about delivering value. The minute you lose value, right, then it becomes a commodity. The only thing that separates you from everybody else is the value you bring to the table. Who you are, what you stand for, because I can guarantee you, whatever it is you're selling, they could buy it somewhere else. Just, that's the rules we live by. Agreed or disagreed? Good, okay, winding down. Rule 23, Paul Revere. You guys might do this, you might not do this, but Paul Revere went down the road and didn't say, hey, you know, the British are coming, but I'm not going to tell you. The British are coming, but I'm not going to tell you. What did he do? Told everybody, right? The one thing about salespeople in general is they don't tell everybody. Tell everybody what you do, especially in the world that we live in that is so, you know, viral and so connected. Tell everybody what you do. Let's see. I'm going to skip that one. Really simple. Rule 24. Listen up. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Pretty simple. I could talk about that for days, but most people talk themselves out of deals. Happens all the time. Shut up and listen. They'll give you all the clues. Follow-up, probably the most significant thing that people do not do. So for me, I created a routine, a habit, that anybody that I meet in a day, within the next 12 hours, I follow up with them. Oh, we have this cool thing called email that allows you to do it pretty simply. You can do it at any time of the day or night, but if you follow up with people right away, they will significantly view you differently than they would if you don't. Because we haven't done anything yet, but they sort of get a sense of who you are and how you operate. And follow-up was the #1 key. Cannot tell you how many times people have gotten to me, have made a presentation to me, I never hear from them again. It's mind-boggling. Rule number 26, this one's a game changer. We call it 3D PR. Everybody knows what PR is. PR is a press release or something that goes out there to announce what I've done. So I don't know how much prospecting you do or how many times you're really trying to get to somebody, but the key to all business is about prospecting. And in this particular case, if you're calling, emailing, or doing all the traditional things that most people do to connect with somebody, even on social media, you're doing it one-dimensionally. It's just you throwing stuff out and hoping it comes back. So instead of telling your story that way, we created something called 3D PR. And I'll give you an example. We're just working with Toshiba in Cleveland. They were looking to do a very, very large deal and could not get any traction with their client, right? They showed us the case file, we went through it, we did homework on the CEO, and the CEO is a gigantic James Bond fan. So what do? We go on Amazon, we buy a martini shaker, we take the martini shaker, we do a handwritten note inside and say, hey, we just want the opportunity to shake things up. He called back that day and said, I want to meet you guys. That's clever, that's different, and we walked in the door. So much information that you can gather about somebody, guaranteed. Any Gators in the room? Yay! So my younger son is a coach at the Gators, and I'm a Gator alum. If you know that somebody's a Gator and you send them a Gator basketball or football that says, hey, I just want to get the ball rolling, right? You know that's something that they're passionate about. You win. You change the game from all of the other ways of contacting. So pay attention, look at the game plan and say, how are we going to execute? There was an old thing that guys used to do where they'd go to a shoe store, they'd buy cheap shoes, they'd send one shoe, right, and go, well, now that I got a foot in the door. Pretty clever, man, it used to work. Well, that was all about me trying to get in the door. That's changed now. Now it's all about them. What can I find out about you? What charity? What club? What is your passion? When you learn about social media, it is all about finding their passion point. Whatever it is, guns, food, boats, whatever it is, if you can land on that passion point,